Okay, let's just do this. So, week 2 of The Artist's Way. Yeah, this week was really hard. Um, at the beginning, I was like really eager to move forward. Let me just open the book. Okay, yeah, so rediscovering a sense of identity. Um, okay, so there was a quote that I really liked that was at the beginning. That was slow down and enjoy life. It's not only in the scenery you miss, sorry, it's not only the scenery you miss by going too fast, you also miss the sense of where you are going and why. And there's a freaking fly. And yeah, that just kind of hit me. So I don't know. It was just one of those moments. I had a really unfortunate week because my cat passed away, my little boy, and his name was Mushu. And I don't know how much detail I'm gonna go into this because I'm still processing. But it was like really sudden and just left me really shaken up. But it got me really thinking about like everything that we had been through together. And it's just a lot. So it was honestly really hard for me to like even get out of bed for like 3 or 4 days afterwards. Um, which is normal for grief. And so I didn't really do my morning pages for like quite a few days. But yeah, so I just wanted to like say that at the beginning because it's gonna come up again later. Okay. So there was in the beginning of the chapter 2, there was another part that I thought was really interesting, and it was like admit that you are being used and admit that you're using your abuser. Specifically, she was talking about the crazy maker. This is not in a context of like blaming the victim. That's not what this is. But it is, she did say like your crazy maker is a block you choose for yourself to deter you from your own trajectory. As much as you are being exploited by your crazy maker, you too are using that person to block your creative flow. And I feel like this just hit me like a ton of bricks because I recognize that like I had this tendency to attach myself to partners who needed help or like who needed support. And it was like, oh, if I can fill you in all of these areas, then you'll be good, and then you can help me fill in my areas. You know, like once you're taken care of, then you can take care of me in the same way, and that's just not how it works. And instead of putting all of that energy into myself to begin with, I was looking outside of me for that piece. That was a really simplified version of what I have experienced the majority of my 20s. So, and she was saying, like, the author was saying, after her divorce, she had rented a house in the Hollywood Hills. And she wrote, I would see no one, and no one would see me until the worst of the pain was over. That's very much how I felt in Mexico. I did not want to make any sudden moves because I recognized like my nervous system just needed to recalibrate itself. And that I was like, I'm gonna stay here for what, a month, and treat it as like an artist residency. And I like wrote every single day. I was like doing pottery. I was like going on walks and just like completely isolating myself from the world, because I had to sit with the shit that was inside of me. I had to sit with like, okay, regardless of what happened, how it ended, I was in Mexico because of my past relationship. And I'm like, I could see the pattern so clearly. Like, I think it was so painful that I just like knocked myself out of it. And I had to think, what, regardless of what happened on the exterior, what part of me feels deserving of this? What part of me only feels worthy of love when she's useful? And so the author had written that she had like walked and made friends with the cat, and then I like broke down crying. And then I had even written like my cat passed away this week. I know week 3 of this book is when your life starts to fall apart, but I don't know how much I can take. There's a freaking bug on me. Is this an omen? And okay, then she had written, writing about attention. I can see I have written a good deal about pain. This is no coincidence. It may be different for others, but pain is what it took to teach me to pay attention. Yeah. I'm just very much at that point in my life where I'm like, what is it that I want to do? You know, I've always had this vision of what I wanted my life to be and how I wanted my life to be. And it was always like with art as an artist. But I think that there are these subconscious programmings that were like specifically around love and relationships and my own image of my self-worth that would kind of pull me away from my path. And I kept thinking like, no, this can all come together. Or like I can still have that and have this. And I think I'm just at a point where I'm like, I don't want both of these worlds to collide. Actually, in order for me to have this needs to not happen. Not to say that I can't have a relationship and still be successful, but I cannot have a relationship functioning in the same way that I had been functioning for the majority of my 20s and still have a successful career. Nor do I want a relationship like that. So yeah, she had basically just written about like all there is the beauty in the present moment. And I think that I was always kind of looking into the future, like, oh, if we just hang on a little bit tighter, once this happens, we'll be good. Or like this time next year, or like once that comes in, we'll be fine, you know, or like we'll be good. And it was just always this like waiting, and it just never came. And it felt like I was kind of growing this direction and like growing to expand. And my partner just wasn't moving in the same direction. So it just reminds me of like the quote that I had said from the beginning that I had written down, like when you're going too fast, you miss the sense of where you are going and why. Yeah, I'm just thinking about my cat. Okay, so then the tasks were every morning and night read the basic principles to yourself. I did this maybe 4 nights, 3 or 4 nights this week. Or I should say in the morning, because at night I just like couldn't get myself to do anything. I've honestly been just like crying myself to sleep. Okay, where does your time go? List 5 major activities this week. How much time did you give to each one? Which one were what you wanted to do and which were shoulds? So I had number 1 sleeping at 50%. When I get sad, I sleep a lot. Number 2, crying, 15%. Scrolling on my phone, 10%. Editing videos, 20%. And then meetings or like administrative work was 5%. Basically, I took the 50% of me sleeping and then I just divided the rest of the 50% with other things. Yeah, I like ate a little bit. But I didn't write that down. Yeah, I know that like when I'm overwhelmed, I definitely throw myself into my work, but I couldn't even do that. That's why it's only at 20% with like editing videos and catching up on like my online course. But yeah, so then it says how much of your time is spent helping others and ignoring your own desires. None, because I didn't really do anything this week. I just laid in bed. I didn't even leave the house. There was one time that my grandpa needed help at the store and I went with him, and then I just like realized I probably should not be driving because I just like felt really out of it. I felt like I was kind of depersonalized just from grief. Have any of your blocked friends triggered doubts in you? I didn't have any blocked friends because I didn't really talk to anybody this week. Okay, then the number 3 task this week was list 20 things you enjoyed doing. When was the last time you let yourself do these things? Next to each entry, place a date. So, number 1, I wrote roller skating. 9 years ago. I was probably a teenager still. Like 2017. Painting a week ago. Writing yesterday. Reading today. Riding horses. I did 30 days ago. I went to the farm last month and had ridden a horse. Volunteering at an animal shelter. I did 11 years ago, 2015. There were moments where I realized now I had like fostered some kittens in Philly, but that was like maybe, oh God, what? 6 years ago. But that was really hard because then one of them passed away. But this is specifically like volunteering at a shelter. I used to go and like walk the dogs, and it was really, really nice. Then I have written sculpting and pottery 3 months ago. And then technically yesterday because I did my artist date where I had like sculpted some things. Photography, like film photography 3 months ago because my battery to my camera had died. Writing poetry, this was like in 2014. And this had some weird memories come up because I definitely had like my privacy violated as a child or like as a teenager when it came to my writings, and I realized there was no safe space, and so I just like stopped. Same with singing, but I sang last week. That was another thing on my list. I didn't really sing this week because I was very sad. Writing a song, 2016. I really, really loved music. Growing up, I started playing the piano when I was 4, and I played for like all the way until I was maybe 16. Like classically trained in piano, and I would like write my own songs. And then I think I was maybe like 12 or 13 that I had taught myself how to play the guitar. And then like growing up in school, I was in band and I played the trumpet, and so I was always like very connected to music and would like write my own songs and stuff. And then I think around that time, like 16, 17, is when I just imploded with a lot of the things that were like going on in my house with like trauma and abuse. And I just like stopped doing all of it. Then my 12 is riding a bike, August of last year, baking. I wrote last weekend, and then no, 3 days ago, because I had tried to bake a pie. I like bake when I'm sad. There was like a few days after Mushu had passed, and the pie just came out really badly. Just scrapped it. And then today I baked 2 pies that turned out good. One was like a pear tart, and the other was an apple tart. 14, making love. Yeah. 15, kissing. I did January of this past year, or of this year. 16, watching the sunset. I just watched the sunset last week. Walking on the beach, August of 2025. I was in LA. I remember I had walked along the beach before I moved to Mexico, and I used to love the beach. I still love the beach a lot. 18 was exploring a new place. I did February of 2026 when I was in Mexico. I had explored a new place, but I also was like very scared because I didn't really know the area that well. 19, swimming. So 2 Sundays ago, I did swim in the pool, but it was more relaxing. It's not like a lap pool. It's like a wading pool. But an actual pool, like swimming laps, not since 2012. So I also grew up swimming. I was a competitive swimmer for the majority of my upbringing, all the way through like high school. And there were a lot of things I didn't like, and there's a lot of things that I still miss. But I've been meaning to like get back into a swimming routine. Okay, and then my last one was going for a drive, and I had gone for a drive yesterday. Number 4 task was to make small goals from my list. And number 1, I had buy batteries for my camera and shoot a roll of film. Nice. I actually have all of this film from my friends in LA who own a film lab, and they have all of these wonderful rolls of film with like their little dog printed on it, and they had actually given it to me as a gift when I had left to Mexico. I still have a lot of those rolls. I haven't shot the majority of them because I don't have a battery. So I'm gonna go look for batteries. That's one of my small goals this week. And then write a poem. And I had write a haiku about Mushu in his memory. So I'm gonna do that this week. Number 5, go back to week 1, read the affirmations, done. Note which ones cause the most reaction. And then write 3 chosen affirmations 5 times each day in your pages in the morning. And make sure to include the affirmation you made from your blurts. So the one that gave me the most reaction were there is a divine plan of goodness for me. Very natural to doubt that during grief. And then my creativity leads me to forgiveness and self-forgiveness. And I am capable of making money with my art. I think that there's been periods where like, made money, haven't made money, made money, haven't made money. And it's this thing of like kind of back and forth. And when it's coming in, it's really good. And when it's not, things are awful. And for whatever reason, the thought of like consistently making money, I think, seems like unachievable to me. I don't know why. I'm hoping that I can like get to the bottom of that with this book and like this internal work. So I wrote everything out 5 times, the days where I did do my morning pages. And then number 6 task was return to your list of imaginary lives. Add 5 more. So number 1, I wrote scuba diver. 2 was ballerina. 3 was a musician. 4, cat rescuer. And 5, a mortician. I think a mortician would be a really interesting life, to be honest. When I was at the academy, We had a class. It wasn't a class. It was like a thing where you could choose to participate. I don't know what the word is called. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's gonna come back. But basically, you decide if you would like to go. And we would like go to the hospital next door at Hahnemann Hospital, go down to the morgue and draw from the corpses. And it was a great way to learn anatomy. And it just got me really thinking about like all the steps it takes to be a mortician. And eventually I realized I just like having little jars of like tinctures and like knowing formulas and like the chemical side of things. But I did not necessarily want to be working with the human form in that way as a career. But I wrote mortician anyways. And yeah, so the one that I'm going to choose to do this week is maybe, well, it's hard. So scuba diver, I had written day at the lake. Ballerina, take a dance class. Musician, write a song. Cat rescuer, go to the Humane Society. I think it's just a little bit too soon for me to be like around cats right now. I don't think I can like physically do it. And mortician, I wrote so maybe this week I take a dance class. Why not? I've honestly always wanted to do ballet, but I just never did. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. Okay. Then she had us draw like a circle with a pie chart for each slice equaling spirituality, exercise, play, work, friends, and romance/adventure. And you had to like put a little pin in the pie chart as to how much of it you have or how little you have of that topic in your life, with the center being the least amount and the outer edge being the most amount. And mine looks like this. It looks like really unbalanced. And she had written like it's normal at the beginning for it to like look like a tarantula, but over time we want it to be more balanced. I think that my spirituality is kind of middle, work a little bit less than middle, just because emotionally just like going through it. Exercise, I did not go to the gym once this week. Last week I was like consistent, but this week I'm just sad. Play, I had gotten some flowers from outside near the tree where I had like laid with Moosh after his passing, and I'm making some pigment from that, which I consider play. So that was good. Friends are pretty low. I've like talked to a few of my friends. But it's mostly just been like checking in to see how I'm doing. And romance and adventure is like absolute zero. I don't want any romance, and I just don't have the energy for adventure right now. Then number 8 task was 10 tiny changes. So I had written, you have to say, I would like to, and then put your change. So I had written, I would like to play with Miss Gray every night before bed. I wanted to be more consistent with like playing with her. I do play with her in the garden, but I feel like before bed, just to get the energy out and then to like calm her down, because she's also been really sad since his passing, and like at night especially they used to play together in the house, because I would like close the doors to the garden. They couldn't go outside anymore at night. And now she just like wanders the house and like cries out for him. And it's the saddest thing ever. So I've written that I wanted to play with her before bed. I would like to shoot all of the film I have. I would like to plant some new seeds in the garden. I would like to drink more water. That's a big one. I would like to launch my online course. I've been working on it since like last summer, and like life just happens, but it's okay. Like, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just going to do it. I really believe in myself. I would like to stop looking for reassurance from people who I know are unable to meet me. I would like to do my gua sha every morning, and I have. I would like to go on a hike on my own. I would like to learn to crochet, and I would like to write myself a letter. And then you're supposed to circle one. I had written I would like to go on a hike on my own, which I do anyways. Like I go on walks. So I had written I had also circled I would like to write myself a letter. Which I'm gonna do. I already send letters to strangers every single month in the mail. And I realized I actually haven't written myself a letter in a really long time. It's a tradition that I do like every year for my birthday. I write myself a letter, put it in an envelope, date it. Like I write, do not open until next year. And I seal it in an envelope and I like leave it on a shelf in my studio. And it's just like kind of a reminder of what I'm doing that year, what I've accomplished, like major moments that meant a lot to me, and then like what's new, and then goals that I have, so that when I read it a year later, it's just like a message of encouragement from myself. And I haven't really done that in a while. So, okay. And then I have my check-in. So I did my morning pages 4 days this week, not 7. I was really sad because of my moosh. The experience was hard. I did not want to sit with myself. I did not want to write. There were many times where I just wrote like, I can't do this. I'm unable to write. I can't do that. And I didn't even write for like 3 days. Or I would try to write about things and it was just like my moosh, and then I would just start crying, and like I just physically couldn't do it. It was really, really hard. And then when I did write, I only thought of my boy. I think I must have written my sweet little boy at least 100 times. And then what were you surprised to find yourself writing about? I had written that I was surprised to be writing so much about my future. It was oscillating between planning for my future or future business moves and writings of my boy. I know I tend to intellectualize when I'm overwhelmed and I plan, but this felt different. It feels like I'm not going to let anything stop me. His death is extremely difficult, although I know that he would not want me to live, or I know that he would want me to live my life the way that I want on my own terms. And I'm like, the grief is so intense, like especially at night, it's so intense. I don't want to go into detail about this. I just feel like I know there's this pattern where every time I'm overwhelmed or like going through grief, I retreat to safety. And it goes all the way back to childhood, where I didn't have anyone to like regulate with. I didn't have anyone to model to me. Like, my camera just died. Or to even make space for my feelings. So I could see that I was doing that and like not answering any texts and like not posting anything online, and then I like wasn't really eating, which are all normal ways to handle grief and loss. But it felt really consuming, like all consuming. And on the fourth day, I was like, okay, what else could go wrong at this point? Like, literally, what else? Because I had moved here to like rebuild and, really go after my dreams. And then he passed, and it just felt like so much light was taken from my life. And I know that he was so loving. He was so pure and innocent. And I just kind of realized like that was the gift that he gave me, like regardless of where you came from or how difficult your life was, because he really had a really, really hard start to life. He was still like the most loving, sweetest, trusting boy in the world. And so, I was just like, this is it. I know this hurts a lot, but it's not going to stop me. And I'm going to continue, but I'm going to continue with like strength and sureness. And it's going to be like fucking head on, you know what I mean? It's not going to be this thing of like over giving and overworking myself and then feeling empty and having to retreat and recharge, and like, nah, it's like consistent. So it feels different. And then I did my artist date. So I'll show you what I did this week. Okay, so I had gone to the Brazilian version of a dollar store, or like a corner store, and I got clay. This was the most delicious clay I've ever worked with. It has gluten in it, which was so weird, but it feels like super, super soft Play-Doh. I haven't played with this before. At least we don't have this type of consistency of clay in the United States, but it's like, it is, oh, is it focused? It's so freaking soft. And I got some clay and I had modeled some things. So first I made my cat. I made my cat. I don't know if this is gonna pick up or not. Hello. There he is. He's really little. Yeah. There he is. And I gave him his little spots. And when he had his back turned to me, his tail and the back of the back of his the black part on his back, it looked like a cat that was looking at the moon. And then he sometimes would look up at the moon, and he had the most perfect little center part, and he had this little black spot under his mouth. And so when he would kind of sit over me in the dark, it looked like he was like, oh. It was so cute. And I have his pink little nose right there. I don't know if it's picking up. There he is. So yeah, that's my boy. And now he's just always with me. So I think I might put him in a little case and keep him in my purse. And then I made my Miss Gray. She's not this plump. She's really not this plump. But this is how she came out. And she does have 2 little white back paws, and she has a fluffy tail. And everything about her is gray, besides her 2 back paws and this little fluff on her chest. So then, I don't know why, I made a bean. It's a little bean. Yeah. Just a little bean. The bean's a magical fruit. Or vegetable. And then I made a fish. green fish. I was honestly just making things that came to mind. I don't know why. I did have like a meditation a couple weeks ago, and there was like the theme was fish, and I think this was like one of the fish that I had seen swimming. And then I made a little open book. It's kind of like a old like antique book with some pages that's open. And then I made one of my guys. So I've made these guys since I was little. I've always like drawn them. I used to make these cartoons in school and like sell them for $1, like these little strips of my cartoons. But this is one of my guys, and this is just how I feel right now. He's a sad guy, and he has a little antenna, and that's his little heart. Just, yeah. So, I know. That's what I did for my artist date this week. Next week is week 3, and I'm like dreading it. I literally don't know how much more I can take. I hope it's just not bad. I honestly hope it's just not bad. Hello, please don't eat him. But yeah, so she's sitting on my book. If I remember correctly, next week is about like anger. So let's see. I know I'm still gonna be like more, please don't eat that. I know that I'm gonna be just mourning next week and the week after and the week after and the week after that. And I feel like my life is changing a lot, but I just like really miss my guy. And I like wasn't expecting him to leave. It was just very sudden. So I'm gonna just leave it there, because otherwise I'm gonna spend another hour talking about it, and that can just be like a separate time. So okay, that's the week 2 check-in.